Hey guys, thanks so much for stopping by. I hope you're all doing well. Today I'd like to share with you another story from my days as a backpacker. Altogether, I traveled for around 5 years to a number of different countries, mostly by myself. And each time before going to a new place on my journey, I would always pray for God to guide me to where He wanted me to be next because I believed that God would keep me safe from any dangerous situations or people, and that He would know what were the best places for me to stay. So, after 2 years in Australia, my visa was about to expire, and I didn't feel ready to go back to Germany, my home country. I just felt there was nothing for me to do there, and I just felt adventurous to discover a few more countries that I hadn't been to, so I decided to keep traveling. But I had no idea which country to go to next, and so I just prayed to my Father in heaven that He would guide me to somewhere to go next. And not long after that, I had a dream one night of a person living in Japan saying to me, "Come to Japan." I didn't think anything of that dream, but the following night I had another dream, this time of me living in Japan and teaching children in a school. I thought it was odd that I dreamt of Japan 2 nights in a row, and then I decided if I was to have a third dream, then I should probably pay attention to this. And sure enough, the following night I had another dream. This time, one of my neighbors was telling me to go to Japan. So I began to wonder if God was trying to tell me to go to Japan through my dreams. At this point in my life, I had never experienced God speaking to me in a dream, but I had heard that He does these things. There's quite a few stories in the Bible where God speaks to people through dreams. However, I wanted to be absolutely sure that this really was God speaking and I wasn't just making it all up in my head. So I went to a lady from my church that I was going to and asked her to pray for me that I would be in God's will with what I was going to do. And while praying for me, she got an inner knowing from God that I was in God's will. So I had my confirmation. And I did end up teaching kids at a school in Japan, just like in my dream. Now, I would have never thought of going to Japan if I hadn't had these dreams. It just wasn't a country I was interested in visiting. But I ended up having an amazing time there. Some of the highlights were staying with a geisha and learning all about Japanese culture, climbing Mount Fuji with a group of Japanese students that I had just met on a bus, and swimming with sharks and dolphins on a remote island in the ocean. It's called Chichijima, and I also watched a giant turtle heading back into the ocean after laying its eggs. I also really enjoyed my job working as a teaching assistant at the British School in Tokyo. So the reason why I'm sharing this story with you guys is I think that sometimes we can be in a situation where we're just not sure what to do, but we have to make a decision. And I think it's quite helpful to be able to pray in the situations like that and to ask for God's guidance and then to be sure what's the right thing to do. So we really don't need to worry about anything if we just let God lead us. And He can speak in all sorts of ways. So if you're someone who's learning how to hear from God, be open to whatever way He chooses to communicate with you. And He's very creative and He will find a way of getting the message across to you. He can speak, for example, through people or a song you're listening to, or a scene from a movie, or a dream, or just a thought that pops into your mind and you know it's not coming from you. And of course, He will speak through His word, the Bible. The only thing from my experience that you need to watch out for is that to be sure that you really want to hear from Him and you don't actually want to hear what you want Him to say. because then you will most likely just be hearing whatever it is that you want to hear. So if you are a believer in Yeshua, Jesus Christ, and the God of the Bible, but you haven't experienced Him speaking to you personally and guiding you with your decisions, then I'd like to encourage you to give it a go. And if you don't believe in God, I'd like to challenge you to ask Him to show you whether He is real or not. And if you are truly sincere, then He will show you. And finally, if you have had your own experiences of how God has led you in maybe unexpected ways, I would encourage you to share that story with someone, or maybe write it in the comment section below. Thanks so much for watching this video. Take care everyone, and God bless.